Welcome to the Journey Podcast, where we share some of the most inspiring stories on the planet, life lessons, and tools that will help you navigate through your own personal journey. On this episode, you will find a segment from our weekly life coaching platform, the Dream Nation Breakfast Club. Feel free to tune in live on Zoom every Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern via dnbreakfastclub.com. I am your host, Josh Valentine. So, all righty, let's jump right into it. How to liberate yourself from debt, the bondage of debt. I always say that the number one desire on the face of the planet is the desire to make more money. I have traveled everywhere. And yes, there are people who have a desire to get healthy, but there are so many more people that would rather the money. As unfortunate as that is, they'd rather the money because in their mind, they're like, I can just pay to get healthier. But we all know there's the billionaires that obviously may have cancer or diabetes or maybe obese. Health is wealth when it's all said and done. But everywhere I go, and across every spectrum of status, you will find people who want to make more money. And I'm sure everybody here on the Breakfast Club would love to make more money. So when it comes to liberating yourself financially, getting out of debt is a big part of that. So I'm going to share with you guys some tips for getting yourself out of debt. I'll share with you 10 different concepts. Okay, so understand that getting out of debt can be a challenging but rewarding journey. Here are some tips to help you tackle your debt and work towards financial freedom. Number one, take notes, guys, because this is possibly going to be super beneficial for you. Number one is create a budget. Track your income and expenses to understand your financial situation better. Make a budget that includes all your necessary expenses and allows you to allocate extra money towards paying off your debts. So when it comes to your overall budget, many times we think that we have an idea of how much money is coming in and coming out. But if you've never actually written it down, you'll realize that, oh, snap, I'm actually spending a lot more money than I probably should. Or we'll go and let's just say our budget is $25 a day. But then there'll be moments or days where you're at $35 or $40 a day, and you're not taking into account that extra or those unexpected expenses that you may end up spending on. So having an understanding of your budget will help you set proper boundaries for your finances. But you're not going to be able to set proper boundaries if you don't have a budget to stick by. So again, tracking your income is going to be essential. And there's so many apps. I'm not even going to recommend any particular app. You can go on so many different ones that they have. But there are a lot of different apps that can also track your expenses. Okay, so play around, explore, find an app that can be beneficial for you if you need that. Okay, number two is prioritize high interest debts. Focus on paying off debts with the highest interest rates first. By doing so, you'll save on interest payments in the long run. So you may have a credit card, for example, that your interest rates may be over 20% and you had no idea. You should always know, for those of you who have multiple credit cards, you should always know which credit cards have the highest interest. And you should always know your interest overall and know that a lot of interest can change. The credit cards can very well say, I'm going to charge you more interest at any point in time. So having an understanding of how much interest all of your credit cards are charging you is essential for getting yourself out of debt. Now, there's also the psychological effect on this, and I'm going to go into that right now. So there's something called the snowball method and the avalanche method. You have these two different methods, and they both have value. They're both equally valid in a sense. It's just what works for you. And this is where the psychology comes in. So, for example, choose a debt repayment strategy that suits you best. The snowball method involves paying off the smallest debts first, providing a psychological boost, while the avalanche method prioritizes debts with the highest interest rates. So one is more psychological. Sometimes, for example, you may have a credit card that's $1,200 and it's maxed out. And then you may have a credit card that's $5,000 that you owe, but it has far more interest. They're collecting a lot more interest than the $1,200 card. Sometimes just paying off that smaller card gives you that psychological boost. It gives you that encouragement to say, you know what, I'm making progress here. And you start to get that momentum. Whereas if you paid $1,200 off with the higher interest credit card, then you still owe $3,800. And it doesn't feel as you're making as much progress, because by paying off the $1,200 maxed out card, now you can say, oh, I have at least one of my cards is paid off. And just the feeling of having it paid off will help you build momentum on your journey. Okay, hopefully this is all making sense so far. Number 4, cut unnecessary expenses. Identify non-essential spending and cut back on it. Redirect those funds towards debt repayment. So unnecessary expenses, think about it. Yesterday, I was reflecting on what has my money gone to? What is my money gone to? To live in my home is well over $30,000 a year, for example. I don't know the exact number, but it's definitely well past someone's average salary. And I was thinking about it. Okay, there's obviously a lot of value to that, because you have, for example, if your home brings you peace, if your home brings you joy, if your home brings you comfort, if your home also creates beautiful memories with your family, you can justify that, right? You can justify that. And the thing about it, though, is you may very well go out to eat and you may say some of the same things. This brings me joy. This brings me peace, but is it really worth it in the long run? The way that I like to think about it is, if you're making $20 an hour and that meal is $60 an hour, is $60 for that 1 hour of eating, is that meal worth 3 hours worth of work at your job? Think about it. You eat every day. And that meal, chances are, it may just be satisfying your taste bud in that moment. And maybe your justification is, we're celebrating my sister's anniversary, or we're celebrating my brother's graduation ceremony. And yes, that can be a really great investment in that memory. However, how many times or how many moments spending all of that money at all the restaurants, how many of those do you really remember? What percentage of those do you really remember? And is that $60 or so? For some of you, you're spending $100 on that meal. That's the $100 you made for the entire day on Thursday. That's subjecting yourself to 6 hours doing something that you probably don't even like to do at work. Think about, for those of you who really have to deal with a lot at work, is that money really worth all of those hours of working? So you have to always be mindful at the value that you are receiving for the money that you are spending. So when you look at it from that standpoint, that can help you cut those unnecessary expenses, because you say, you know what? That meal really isn't worth 3 hours worth of work. Those nails can wait. These things can wait. That pair of shoes that's going to bring me so much joy in this moment, I really don't need it right now. I'd rather get myself out of debt. I'd rather feel a sense of security by having my credit cards paid off. Next up, number 5, is increase your income. Increase your income. Look for ways to boost your income, such as taking on a part-time job, freelancing, or selling items you no longer need. What do you have in your home that you can sell on Facebook Marketplace, for example? Sell on eBay, sell on Craigslist, whatever platform you decide to use. But you probably have things that you no longer need that you can sell that can help you get yourself out of debt. Maybe you can get a side hustle. Maybe you can Uber, an Instacart, right? Maybe you can get into coaching. That's one of the things that I do. Sometimes people ask me, Josh, how can I get into coaching? I love the idea of having clients on the side of my job. I like the idea of being able to get paid to give advice and to coach people. And if you ever want to go on that path, reach out to me. I'll give you the framework. I'll let you know. I actually certify coaches on this. There are a lot of people that would love to do this for a living or love to do it as a side hustle on top of what they already do, right? And I certify many different coaches all around the world on this, but you have to find something sometimes to get yourself out of your situation. Sometimes budgeting is not enough. You have more month at the end of the money. You're living hand to mouth, and even getting another job, you have to be mindful at the time you're putting into it. And is it really worth it? Okay. You 100% have to look up alternatives. Sometimes doing a complete career shift can be the right move for you, because getting paid $20 an hour is just not cutting it. Getting paid $30 an hour is not cutting it with 5 children. Okay. So number 6 is negotiate with creditors. If you are struggling to make payments, consider negotiating with your creditors for lower interest rates or more manageable repayment plans. So you could very well reach out to whoever you're in debt to and see if they can work something out. You'd be amazed at what you can find. You'd be amazed at who will work something out for you, including the IRS. Next up, we have number 7, build an emergency fund. Now, I don't call it emergency fund. This is the most universally accepted term for this. I like calling it a peace of mind fund. I read it in some book. I forget exactly where I found it. My wife calls it a security fund, if I'm not mistaken, but I like the term peace of mind fund. And the reason why is because you don't want the idea of an emergency fund to become a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like, now you have an emergency, right? You don't want to speak any kind of emergency into your life. So having an emergency fund or peace of mind fund can help prevent you from going further into debt when unexpected expenses arise. And those unexpected expenses is what I typically refer to as Uncle Murph. Uncle Murph, just like Uncle Sam, is notorious. Uncle Murph is Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. And let's be real. How many of you have been in a situation where you're trying, you're just doing your best? You're praying, you're meditating, you're tithing, you're doing all these different things, you're budgeting. And then you get smacked with Uncle Murph. Uncle Murph comes up and the car breaks down, the funeral expense comes about, the medical bill comes about, you get some unexpected expense. Maybe you have to pay for something with your kid's school that you didn't anticipate, right? Maybe you find out the prom expenses is like $350 that you didn't have, and it gets tough. And if you have that peace of mind fund already in place, when these things do arise, which they will, you are equipped for it. I always say that my favorite definition of wealth is how adequately equipped you are for survival. And I just know that if you have that peace of mind fund, whenever the storms come, you will be far more equipped for survival than your average person. Number 8, avoid accumulating more debt. Stop using credit cards or taking on new loans until you paid off your existing debts. This is referred to as robbing Peter to pay Paul, or vice versa, whatever it is. But you guys get the idea. Do not just think that getting more in debt is going to solve your problems. This is so important. I've fallen guilty of this before. And what ends up happening is you just get in more debt, right? Because there is something in psychology, there's a term referred to as Parkinson's effect. And Parkinson's effect states that the more money you make, the more money you spend. Have any of you found yourself getting that promotion or getting that raise that you probably prayed for at some point in time? And then you get it and you end up realizing that you're still broke? Like, how in the world am I still broke and I'm making an extra $5,000 a year? This doesn't make sense. It's because the more money you make, the more money you spend. That is embedded in our psychology. We are naturally inclined to spend more money as we make more money. You make more money from that promotion. Guess what? You're probably upgrading your car. You're probably going on more vacations, buying nicer clothes, all of these different things to keep up with the Joneses. And you will end up in financial bondage. Again, you have to stand firm. Whenever you make more money, your mindset should be, I can get out of debt even faster. That should be the idea. Number 9, seek professional advice. I remember when my wife and I, we actually hired a money coach to help us manage our finances. I went to a seminar and she was offering a coaching session for a discount. And I said, you know what? Let me just take her up on this offer. I hired this woman, and that one session laid the foundation for how we wanted to go about wealth in our marriage. And it made the biggest difference. I had never spoke to my wife up until that point about how much money I was making. It was just always weird for me. I grew up in a household where that was the norm. And I never involved my wife in my finances. I just pretty much handled everything on my own. And I remember when we first got our first joint account together, and we still have our own individual accounts, our own individual investments, but we started to think as a unit. We started to think as one and really look at our finances from a holistic standpoint and seeing how we can use all of our resources to meet our common goals and vision that we had for ourselves. So getting professional advice is essential. If you're overwhelmed or unsure of the best approach, consider speaking with a financial advisor or even a fiduciary or a credit counselor who can provide personalized guidance. And I would really recommend, I know I'm a little biased because it's my wife. My wife does wealth coaching. She actually helps build people's families' estates and so much more. She is an absolute beast, a specialist when it comes to building wealth. And she actually handles, I was actually talking with her about our insurance policies yesterday, and she just knows everything like the back of her hand. She is so good at what she does. So you guys can always reach out to her if you don't know of anyone in this field. Number 10 is stay persistent and patient. Getting out of debt takes time and discipline. Stay committed to your plan and be patient as you work towards becoming debt free. It's not going to happen overnight. And don't let your impatience destroy you. Know that when it comes to getting yourself out of debt, sometimes it's going to be a marathon. It's going to be a long journey. And that's the interesting thing about money. It's a sprint when it comes to getting yourself in debt, and it's a marathon when it comes to getting yourself out of debt. It's so easy to just spend the money, and it's so much more difficult to get yourself out of the debt that you put yourself in. It's like the idea of being on a downward spiral. When you're on a downward spiral, you have the force of gravity working with you. So much easier to go down the stairs than it is to go up. Because when you are going up, you have resistance. There's that resistance that you have to fight against. And when it comes to getting out of debt, that resistance may be the interest rate. That resistance may be the inner me. The greatest threat to your wealth will always be the inner me. Not necessarily the enemy, but the enemy a lot of the times is the inner me. It is you getting over you. You will always be the greatest threat to your wealth. That's why they say, if there's the African proverb, there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. You have to take control over your mental and emotional faculties, because think about what blows through your money. Many times it's these impulses. Many times it's to fill an emotional void. So you may be doing that retail therapy because You are not knowing how to properly cope with your stress, properly cope with your anxiety. You don't have the tools outside of retail therapy to be able to properly cope with them. And if you can learn them, this will help you tremendously. So remember, every step you take towards reducing your debt brings you closer to financial freedom and peace of mind. Celebrate your progress along the way and stay focused on your goal. When it comes to getting yourself out of debt, listen, you ain't got the luxury of just helping all these people out. People come asking you, I don't care if it's $20, you let them know, look, I am fighting to get myself out of debt. As much as I would love to give you this, it will put me more in debt. And I have a budget, I have a financial plan that I have to abide by. Let people know you're working with a financial advisor, right? And you don't have it. It's okay to let people know that. 65% of America, let alone the world, it's far greater in the world. In the world, you're probably looking at over 80% of the people living paycheck to paycheck. So it's okay to let people know that you ain't got it, that all of your money went to paying off your debt this month. Okay. And that's not necessarily being broke. That's just being smart. Letting them know, like, that's being responsible. That is parenting or adulting yourself, right? You know what? As much as I would love to just freely give this away, I have to abide by my financial plan. You have to stick to your plan. And for me, what I do is I just tithe. Because I tithe, when people are in desperate need, many times I'll take out of my tithes. Some of you may disagree with that, and that's okay. You may say all of this tithe needs to go to my church, and that's fine, because many times a good church will help the community. But for me, I like to take a little bit of that and give it to people who are in need or an opportunity. I was coaching a young man the other day who's running for president. And part of my tithe was buying him a book that President Obama had wrote. That was a seed that I had sown in that young man. You understand? So again, you get to determine what you do with that seed or what you do with that tithe. And that's what I love about the whole process of tithing. It really puts you into a mindset of abundance, right? It takes you out of that lack mentality. So next up, it's one thing to get yourself out of debt, but what do you do when the money you make just simply isn't enough? What do you do? The best thing that I feel you can do is make yourself more valuable in the marketplace. And I want to share with you guys different ways you can make yourself more valuable in the marketplace, because chances are, as much as you love the idea of getting yourself out of debt, you're like, Josh, damn, bro, like I already am barely scraping by just paying my bills. Can any of you relate to that? As much as you hear it in theory, you're like, okay, this sounds good, but I literally am just making enough to cover all of my bills. What do you do in that situation? I know some of you are like, man, that's me. That is me. He's talking to me right now. And I'm going to give you some tools. Okay. So to become more valuable in the marketplace and enhance your career prospects, consider the following strategies. And I'm going to give you guys 12. Number one, continuous learning. You have to invest in your mind. There's an old saying that if you empty your wallet on your mind will fill your wallet. You have to invest in yourself. Invest in your personal and professional development by acquiring new skills and knowledge. Stay updated with industry trends and advancements to remain competitive. So oftentimes when people, they hear my rates for coaching, they're like, geez, like how in the world are you like charging so much? And what they don't realize is they're not paying me for an hour of my time. They're paying me for years upon years of investing in myself. They're paying for the 6 figures I spent on my personal development over the last 15 years or so. 6 figures. They're paying for all the time I dedicated reading the books, listening to the audios, traveling to meet my mentors, investing in the experts, all of these different things. They're paying for all of the discipline, all of the sacrifice. That's what they're paying for, not 1 hour of my time. And because I had invested so much in my skills, that's why I became so valuable in the marketplace. So it's that idea. That's why people pay what they pay to learn how to coach people from me. Because even though it may be expensive for them in that season of their lives, but they just know what they can reap in terms of financial benefits, right? They know that throughout their lifetime, they can make multiple 6 figures, 7 figures even, with the skill sets necessary. So it's all about making yourself more valuable in the marketplace. And it starts with continuous learning. Number 2, specialize. Specialize. Identify areas where you have a particular interest and talent. Then focus on becoming an expert in those fields. Specialization can make you a sought-after professional in niche markets. So, what are you going to specialize in? A lot of what I do as a serial entrepreneur is sales, for example. There are a lot of people who don't like to sell. If you do not like to sell, I'm going to let you know right now, you're probably going to have a long road ahead of you when it comes to entrepreneurship. I don't even want to say difficult, because difficult is subjective. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, you have to learn how to sell. There's just no getting around that. You read Rich Dad Poor Dad and follow the work of Robert Kiyosaki, he will very well tell you that you have to learn how to sell. So I specialize specifically on sales. I specialized on mindset and understanding mindset. I specialized in human behavior. The very foundation, for example, of my work as a life coach is on basic human needs psychology. Because I understand basic human needs psychology, this is the reason why I have been so effective as a coach. But I had to specialize specifically on neuroscience and on psychology. So sometimes people ask me, like, how in the world do you know so much about how the brain works? Because it was an essential part of the work that I do when dealing with my clients. So again, what are you going to specialize in? I had a natural interest and talent in speaking and mentoring people and learning and teaching. So that's the field that I went in. But for you, it may be something completely different. Maybe you have a talent for numbers and you may want to specialize in accounting. You may want to get a specific certification on, let's say, technology, if you really love computers. But you have to specialize in something. If you look at the top professions in the world, the top professions all require that professional to be specialized in that field. So when I got my Coast Guard license to work as a maritime captain, I specialized specifically in so many different things. Like, people don't realize what I had to go through in order to get that whole thing done. I'll give you a quick example, just as a reference. I had to specialize in terrestrial navigation, learning how to navigate the land. I had to specialize in celestial navigation, learning how to navigate with the cosmos, with the sun, the stars, as crazy as that may sound. I had to specialize in something called rules of the road. And this is knowing how the rules apply to Admiralty law. I had to literally learn Admiralty law. I had to specialize in ship construction, how vessels are constructed. I had to specialize in Morse code, y'all, like literally dot, dash, dot, dash, dot, and knowing what that means in Morse code. I had to specialize in what they refer to as STCW requirements, literally learning how to create an inflatable device out of my boiler suit. So if I had, for example, my uniform, I had to learn how to tread water and tie up the ends of my sleeves and my pants and blow into my uniform to make it inflate to keep me afloat in the ocean in the event that my ship sank. Why was I getting paid up to $1,000 a day? That was why. Because of every single thing that I had to specialize in. So just know that the people who are making the biggest money in their professions, they had to take the time and invest the money to specialize in that field. What is your specialty? What is a talent that you can find a specialty in? Okay. So next up, we have networking. I always say that the greatest opportunities are not necessarily going to come from a piece of paper. The best opportunities are going to come from the people that you know. The people that you know. So you need to leave a really good impression. Be mindful that your appearance, perceived value in the marketplace is everything. You only get one chance to leave a first impression. So dress your best when you're out and about. Build and maintain a strong professional network. Attend industry events, join relevant online communities, and engage with peers and mentors. Networking can lead to valuable opportunities and insights. So I have been so adamant about networking, and networking has probably been the number one source to my wealth. The number one source. How were you all introduced to the Breakfast Club? It came from me networking with someone at some point in time that led to you all. How did I build my success over the years? Just being adamant about networking, going out there, meeting people, shaking hands, making contacts. You've got to get your network going. Your network determines your net worth. It is everything. If you are like, I'm an introvert and I don't like people, guess what? You're going to have a very difficult time. Do not say you want to be a millionaire and you're not willing to go out there and network. You got to get out there and you got to be scrappy with it. You got to hustle. Go out there, make the connections. I benefit all the time from other people's networking ability. For example, my soul sister, Pamela Pacheco, she's been doing a lot of PR work for me. She's a brand specialist, right? And she does a lot of PR work for me. And she's the reason why I got on television 2 times last week. Why is that? Because she took the time to go out there and network. And she got connected with people who were on television and they brought her on. And as a result of that, she ended up bringing me on. So networking is everything. And I would never have met her if it wasn't for me going out there and networking. So this will pay you out tremendously. You have to go out there. Do not be just shy and timid. Go out there boldly. It's going to be a little weird. But one thing that I've learned over the years, I've always been happy to spark that conversation and make a new connection. I've always left happy that I did. Number 4, adaptability. Be adaptable and open to change. Embrace new technologies and methodologies and be willing to take on new challenges outside your comfort zone. The only thing that's constant is change. The world will always change. And your profession may not necessarily even be a profession in 5 years. You have to be willing to change with the times, especially in today's day and age with automation and AI. All of these jobs are being replaced. So you have to be adaptable. Don't be so rigid in thinking that you have to just be in your profession. Open up your mind, see what is out there. Number 5, problem solving and innovation. Okay. Now, cultivate a problem solving mindset and seek opportunities to propose innovative solutions to challenges within your industry or organization. Employers want to hire problem solvers, innovators, people who are thinking much bigger, because you can replicate and duplicate credentials. What you can't necessarily replicate and duplicate is creativity, is innovation, is big thinking. There's no shortage of credentials. There's no shortage of qualifications, depending on the industry. Maybe if you're in artificial intelligence now, there may be a shortage in that, but the damn sure isn't a shortage in your everyday professions that we've been used to for the last 20 years. So what separates you from the masses? Why would someone hire you as opposed to someone else? Problem solving, innovation. When you go on the interview, depending on the career or the profession or the job, you may very well want to bring to the table different ways that you can problem solve, or past experience of you problem solving, things that you have done. Okay, so one of the things I remember seeing an interview, I think I was reading a book on Elon Musk. And one of the things that Elon Musk does, as well as Bill Gates, is they ask the person that they are interviewing some of the biggest problems they've solved in their past jobs. They're not necessarily looking for all the fancy stuff. They want to know some of the problems and the creative thinking that this person is bringing to the table. So this is going to be essential for making yourself more valuable in the marketplace. Number 6 is effective communication. Improve your communication skills, both verbal and written. Being able to articulate ideas clearly and persuasively is highly valued in any role. Wow. If there's anything that has had the greatest benefit for me outside of networking, the skill set of networking, of course, but I would not have been as good as a networker if I did not refine my communication skills. I spent a lot of time working on my communication skills. When I was outside of college, I still had some nerves when it came to speaking. Even though I did a lot of presentations throughout college, which most certainly helped, but I had to refine myself as a speaker. So I joined Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a speaking organization. They're all over the world, in almost every major city around the world. And that has been one of the greatest pieces of advice that I ever received from any mentor of mine. My mentor was always on speaking panels with people like Les Brown, and he recommended it to me back in 2012. And that's when I started that journey. And today I charge a minimum of $25,000 an hour to hire me as a speaker. To bring me out to speak to your company, I charge $25,000 for 1 hour of my time. Why is that? Because they're not paying for an hour of my time. They're paying for the hours upon hours that I spent refining my craft. And the thing about Toastmasters is they are teaching you everything from how to move your hands to vocal variety, to being a storyteller, to being persuasive. And they put you on this path to refine every single aspect of your speaking ability. And this is why I speak all around the world today. I get so many people that they're like, man, I could never do that. And I would argue with that, because there was a point in time, and many of you have heard me share the story. My very first keynote speech, by the way, was when I was about 20 years old. I was so nervous that I literally hired my friend to be my chauffeur and drive me in his Mercedes. I sat in the back seat so that I can drink a bottle of wine to relax myself before this speech. No joke. This is a true story. That's how nervous I was. I remember there was a presentation that I had to deliver to pass a business class that I was taking. And I was so nervous that I literally gave the entire presentation with the audience looking at my back while sitting on a desk. I was sitting on the desk and my leg was shaking uncontrollably back and forth. And I did not look once behind me at the audience. That's how nervous I was. This was not year one, by the way, of my college journey. This was like the third or fourth year. So I most certainly have had moments throughout my life where I've been super nervous as a speaker. But guess what? You do what you fear, and the fear shall disappear. You may not necessarily stop being nervous, but it goes from being nervous to being nervous excited. You are not just nervous, you're just excited. And that's when that shift happens for you. You will find your way in communication, and it will be so valuable for your ability to network, for your ability to lead, for your ability to articulate and cast a vision that's compelling to move a team of people. Wow, think about this. Why is it so valuable to be an effective communicator? Because over 90% of the population does not like to speak in public. So why not be amongst the top 5% of the world that actually enjoys speaking or has the skills necessary to speak? And I can tell you right now, if my chapter of entrepreneurship closed on me today, I will very well just, I'd literally go to a Lamborghini or Ferrari dealership or yacht sale, anything with sales. Why is that? Because I know that over 90% of people do not like to sell. Over 90% of people do not like to speak in public. So therefore, there will always be a void in the marketplace for my skills. Okay. Number 7, leadership and teamwork. Develop your leadership abilities and demonstrate your capacity to work effectively in teams. Strong leadership and teamwork skills are valuable assets in any workplace. It's interesting because today I was actually going through, I have what I call a highlight reel where I look at just a list of things that I've accomplished throughout my lifetime, things that I'm proud of. And I was looking through my highlight reel and I saw this picture, and this picture, you guys probably can't see it. It's a picture of me on a crowd of people, and those are my teammates in high school. I played football, and they'd always throw me on top of the crowd to get everybody all riled up. And I started to reflect about how useful sports are, how beneficial sports are to leadership. Sports is the foundation to leadership in the world. It helps so much. It helps with learning how to be a part of a team and how to be a team player and how to have sportsmanship and how to have work ethic and character and all of these different things. I was the captain of my football team. That was some of the very first exposures to leadership was my role as a captain on sports teams. And there's so many parallels from the sports world to the business world. So one of the best things that you can do for your children is put them in sports. Put them in sports because this is where they'll get the initial foundation for leadership and teamwork. It's so essential. And if you look at the parallels, if you look at how things stack, you'll notice that to be an effective leader or a team player, you will have to learn how to communicate. You have to learn personalities. You have to learn human behavior, how to build rapport, how to develop your social swagger, right? Because some people, they don't have social awareness, and that's why they struggle when it comes to communication. They don't have that social awareness. They don't realize that there's just certain things that you don't say, right? Certain things that you just don't say. You have to understand political correctness sometimes, social awareness, emotional intelligence. These are all essential components to leadership and teamwork because leadership and teamwork require you to work with other people. And other people are going to have other personalities. And if you do not know how to be a chameleon and you just communicate in one way, you're going to have a very difficult time on your journey. So learning leadership. And by the way, I was a part of a leadership society, Omicron Delta Kappa Leadership Society, right? A lot of amazing leaders have come through this program. And I studied leadership in college. This was also a big part of my foundation. So don't just look at me as the leader today and think that, oh, like he's just a natural born leader. No, I've refined a lot of my leadership over the years and I've studied the concepts of leadership. Okay. So, number 8, this is so important: deliver results. Deliver results. Focus on achieving tangible results and meeting or exceeding targets. Consistently delivering high quality work will enhance your reputation and value in the marketplace. I'll give you a prime example. Throughout my business journey as a networker, I built massive teams, millions and millions of dollars in revenues. And I believe that if it wasn't for getting the results in that area, if it wasn't for getting the results in my relationships, if it wasn't for getting the results as a father, if it wasn't for getting the results in my body, 90% of you wouldn't be on the Breakfast Club today. The world benefits from your results. They do. We do. We benefit from you getting results. Here's another thing. When I work with clients, the reason why I'm never in a shortage of clients is for the simple fact that I help them get results. At the end of the day, the results are the outcome. Whatever it is that they're going through, whatever it is that they have going on, many of you who are on the Breakfast Club have been coached or mentored by me, and I've helped you get results in your life. That's why you still tune in. But people aren't going to necessarily be receptive to your message if you're not personally getting the results. You may teach someone how to get results, but you also have to get results in order for people to be receptive to what it is that you are saying. Deliver results. Always. How good is your personal development if you can't apply it to your own personal life? How intelligent are you? Really? You may be knowledgeable on a lot of different things. But for me, I believe that intelligence is the application of knowledge. That's what I believe. When you're truly intelligent, you understand that this knowledge is nothing if I can't apply it to my own life. Number 9, embrace diversity and inclusivity. Embrace diversity and inclusivity. Man, I feel like I'm in a leadership class or finance class, finance and leadership 101. And this is good. This is good. I hope you guys get the feeling like you're like back in school, right? Yes and no. Some of you like, hell no, there's no way I'm going. It's like going back to school without the homework, right? Many of you love learning or being in that school atmosphere. Let's be real. We all love, and it's actually like going to school for something you love. So I feel like this is like a classroom setting and you don't have to deal with the homework, right? You don't have to deal with the stuff that you hated about school, like learning things you don't really care for, like the War of 1812. You probably weren't that passionate about that, or trigonometry or calculus, right? I damn sure wasn't excited about calculus. It's the only class I ever failed. But let's talk some science. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about life. These things always excited me. I believe with children, it's not that children hate school. They probably just hate the way the teacher teaches. They probably just hate what it is that they're learning about. But a lot of kids love learning new things. But it's so important to have the right teacher to teach you these things. Okay. Embrace diversity and inclusivity. Number 9, show a commitment to fostering diversity and inclusivity in the workplace. Companies value professionals who can contribute to creating a diverse and inclusive culture. Let me tell you something. Racism, if you think that you're going to make it being racist or excluding people or ousting people or whatever, like you're going to have a very difficult time in the marketplace today, because this cancel culture, right, as crazy as it is for a lot of different reasons, but companies these days are getting canceled if they're not including diversity into their corporate culture. A lot of companies are being shut down because of this. Like they are being canceled, like they're being put on the spot. This is being highlighted. And in today's marketplace, you have no choice. You need to embrace diversity inclusion. And for me, this is a beautiful thing. I'm very big on being inclusive. Okay. So many times when you guys hear me, for example, when I speak about spirituality, I'm being inclusive with everyone, right? I learn all the religions. I feel like there's value in all religions. There's also beautiful, deep, profound wisdom. And if you're the type of person that you're just against everybody else and what they believe, this Breakfast Club is probably not going to be for you. I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. Like I include everyone. It doesn't matter where you are. I love everyone. I'm compassionate with everyone. It is what it is. We're all on our different paths. We all have our different journeys. And for me, I love the idea of diversity inclusion. However, I also believe that you should hire the right person for the right job. I don't think that you should get hired for a position just because of the color of your skin or just because of your gender. I feel that the best person for the job should always get that job, no matter the race, no matter the background, no matter the religion, no matter what, like always definitely hire the best people. Any of you agree with that? Does anybody agree with that? Like it shouldn't be about race when it comes or gender when it comes to job qualifications. You understand? For example, I'm also pro woman. I believe that we need more of our women to be able to help us move the planet forward. But let's be real, you can't say, "Oh, I'm going to hire a bunch of women for this construction job because we need more diversity inclusion." No, right? The woman may all not necessarily be a good fit for that job, right? You may very well have a lot of men that are better for the job. And is it fair to say, oh, we just need to be inclusive and bring more women in the workplace to give them more opportunity? No, I believe, especially as a businessman, hire the best people for the job. Okay. So if you are a woman and you're better than that guy and you're a sister and you're doing your thing and you're the right person, then you deserve that job. And that's just my personal belief, y'all. Okay. Number 10, build a strong personal brand. Cultivate your online presence and reputation. Use social media and professional platforms to showcase your expertise and accomplishments. This is why I always recommend getting professional headshots. Your personal brand, you have one chance to leave a first impression. So take some time to develop and build your brand on social media, guys. This is oftentimes your resume, whether you believe it or not. Be careful what you put out there. Okay. Be careful what you put out there. Your brand is everything. When I was doing this coaching session with this young man who is going to be on a path for his presidency down the road, one of the things that I told him was just don't allow anyone to just take pictures of you. Don't be mindful of the environments that you're in and allowing people to just take pictures of you at any moment because people can very well tag you and they can tag you and then you can get discovered in a very out of character moment, right? So be mindful all the time. Don't let the alcohol get to your head and put you in a situation where you're exposed. Okay. So your personal brand is everything. It takes a lifetime to build it and a moment to ruin it. So always be mindful of your personal brand. Number 11, seek feedback and mentorship. Be receptive to feedback and actively seek mentorship from experienced professionals. Constructive feedback and guidance can help you grow and improve. Feedback and mentorship. Sometimes we have blind spots as people, and the only way for us to really know what those blind spots are is if we get that constructive feedback. Ask people who don't have a biased outlook, who do not have an opinion that's filtered because of their relationship with you. Ask people that are very objective and pragmatic about their feedback. And I always do this. And man, it sucks sometimes. It really does sting. when people just, they mention things that you have to work, it makes you cringe sometimes. So painful for me, at least, when I get that hard feedback, but I know it's necessary. I know it's going to make me better. And the mentorship, let's be real, it is everything. Mentorship is everything on this journey. You need a blueprint. You need a model for success. I was watching the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary, Arnold, it's called. It's a 3-part series. And along the way, mentor after mentor, when Reg Parker, all the way to, I believe it was Ronald Reagan, right? And his presidency, like him just learning from that, having some kind of a blueprint along the way to follow. And if it wasn't for that mentorship, he would never have had the blueprint. So you have to find someone who has what it is that you want and study that blueprint and model that success. Number 12, be reliable and trustworthy. This is half the battle right here. Be reliable and trustworthy. How many opportunities are out there that you probably missed, that you don't even know you missed because of your punctuality, because of your inability to be on time? Think about that meeting that never happened, or that person that got turned off because you weren't punctual and they felt like they couldn't rely on you. That job you didn't get, and you thought that they just found somebody else, right? And the reality is you showed up late, but they didn't have the heart to tell you that. So be reliable and trustworthy. Demonstrate reliability and trustworthiness in your actions and commitments. Building a reputation as someone dependable will make you more valuable to employers and clients. Think about this. What if I always jumped onto the Breakfast Club 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes late? Would you guys really look at me in the same way? Would you really value the Breakfast Club as much if I wasn't consistent? Think about how it is. You have less than a 10% chance of the Breakfast Club not happening for the week, or even having the Breakfast Club happen and not be on time. I would say over 90% of the time, you can rely on the Breakfast Club being on time. If it's not for whatever reason, is for something that's out of my control. But it is always on time, every time. And I'm having, unless obviously there's some technical difficulty or issue that comes about, you understand? But I'm very adamant about people being able to depend on me and being a person, a high value person that people can depend on and rely on, and knowing that they can rely on my punctuality. How many people can rely on your punctuality today? How many people can rely on your discipline today? That's what makes you a phenomenal leader. Remember, becoming more valuable in the marketplace is an ongoing process. Continuously improve your skills, embrace opportunities for growth, and position yourself as a valuable asset to employers and clients alike. And this will make you more valuable, guys, in the marketplace to help get yourself out of financial bondage. For those of you who are even in financial bondage, I know it's not everybody here on the Breakfast Club, but perhaps you can take this information and pass it along to someone in need, someone who's going through it, which is approximately 65% of the United States of America. So just to recap, for getting yourself out of debt, remember, number 1, create a budget. Number 2, prioritize high interest debts. Number 3, snowball or avalanche method. If you missed that, tune into the recording on the Knowledge and Inspiration page. Number 4, cut unnecessary expenses. Number 5, increase your income. Number 6, negotiate with creditors. Number 7, build an emergency fund. Number 8, avoid accumulating more debt. Number 9, seek professional advice. Number 10, stay persistent and patient. Okay. Now, when it comes to making yourself more valuable in the marketplace, here are our tips for today. Number 1, continuous learning. Number 2, specialize. Number 3, networking. Number 4, adaptability. Number 5, problem solving and innovation. Number 6, effective communication. Number 7, leadership and teamwork. Number 8, deliver results. Number 9, embrace diversity and inclusivity. Say that fast. Number 10, build a strong personal brand. Number 11, seek feedback and mentorship. Number 12, last but not least, be reliable and trustworthy. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that this was valuable for you. If it was, please comment, share on Facebook, go to the Knowledge and Inspiration page. You can do that. If you're ever looking for a way to support, I also have an Instagram subscription, and you could very well support that way. I oftentimes offer complimentary coaching sessions to my subscribers. So if you are a subscriber and it's been a while since you received a complimentary coaching session, reach out to me. I can definitely hook you up. I'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care. God bless. Breakfast is served. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Thanks again for tuning into this episode. It would mean the world to me if you can follow, subscribe, share, or even leave a review. I look forward to putting out more content, and we'll see you on another episode.